What's up, guys? So we're here today to talk about Shakespeare because that was the lesson for this week. It was really cool to have this class because Shakespeare is so famous around us in our culture. We hear the name constantly, but we don't really know why he's so famous, why Shakespeare is relevant, and I think it's extremely important to know why. I didn't. So that's why I did the classes to learn more about it, and I think other people learned too. So it was amazing. So we started the lesson by asking students why. Why is Shakespeare famous? Why is he relevant? Why do you know the name? Why do you know Shakespeare's name? And basically what the answer that I got was because he wrote Romeo and Juliet. And that is true. That is correct. He did a lot more than that, but he wrote Romeo and Juliet, and it's probably, well, I think it's definitely his most famous work. So, but then I asked people at another point of the class, I asked them, so tell me, what is the basic story? What's the basic scenario for Romeo and Juliet? And most people knew, most of my students knew what it was, but they didn't know exactly how it ended. They always had some kind of notion or idea of how the ending was, but they didn't really know exactly on details what happened. So what I told everybody is that Romeo and Juliet is a family dispute. So it's a dispute between two powerful families, and Romeo belongs to one, and Juliet belongs to another. And they love each other, but the families don't approve it. In the end, Romeo goes to another city. In the meantime, Juliet fakes her death because she wants to escape and run away with Romeo. Romeo doesn't know about the plan. He comes back, sees Juliet dead. For him, she's dead. He kills himself in desperation. Then she wakes up from that medicine or substance that she took, sees him, and kills herself too. So extremely tragic ending for Shakespeare there. But that's not all he did. He also wrote Hamlet. That was another play that my students mentioned. Some of my students actually went to see Hamlet, a monologue or a part in some theater. It was really cool. And we also talked about Macbeth. Macbeth, if you like movies, there is this is one of the cool things to have this school and talk to so many people. One of my students told me, and I didn't know that last year in 2021, Denzel Washington made a movie, and the name is The Tragedy of Macbeth. And I think it's a great movie because it got an Oscar nomination for the best movie and Oscar nomination for best actor, Denzel Washington. The movie is completely black and white, so it should be interesting to watch something that different. It's a Shakespeare story, Oscar nomination, Denzel Washington, black and white. So that's something different that we can enjoy it. So we talked about these plays. I also presented to my students some quotes, some sentences that Shakespeare wrote in his plays or in his sonnets, and we discussed the message on these quotes so we can understand better what kind of reflection or wisdom Shakespeare brought to us. So I think that was important to do, and we did it. It was a great exercise. I also showed my students an original text from Hamlet for them to read. That was a famous sentence, to be or not to be, that is the question. And then it continues, whether it's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them to die to sleep. I only know that because I repeated it throughout the whole week many times. I'm not a Shakespeare expert, but I read it so many times now I remember. So we did that just to have an idea of what is an original text from Shakespeare like. So it was really cool to really understand Shakespeare. The guy invented 1,700 words. 1,700 words he invented. That's not easy. He was describing people, places, situations, behavior, personalities with so much depth, so many details, that the words for that didn't exist, so he just simply invented them. And he also invented some easy words like Comfortable existed, he invented uncomfortable. So he put the U and the N at the beginning of the word to make it the opposite. But he invented like 300 words just by doing that. Motherfucker was crazy, man. Genius, amazing, very influential. So the concepts that we have today about right or wrong, good or bad, what you should do, what you should not do, a lot comes from religious texts, of course, comes from the Bible or whatever other one. But if you taking aside the religious texts, I believe Shakespeare is the most influential author in the history of the world. He has influenced so much of the other texts that maybe a movie, a book, or something you like today maybe was based on Shakespeare or influenced by Shakespeare. It's probably one of the most influential authors until today that we have. I mean, you can go nowadays to theaters and watch Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, it's in a movie, in the Oscars, Hamlet, it's a constant play to be seen at the theaters. So it really is amazing that Shakespeare until today is relevant. So I wanted to really share that with my students so we could better understand why this guy was so good, and we did. It was a great class. I thank you everybody for doing it. If you guys want to know more, just get in touch with me. If you want to read a book, I got a couple of them from Shakespeare. You can give it a shot and try to understand it. And that's it, guys. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye bye.